Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but before that, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Mike Tomlin thinks turnovers happen in the middle of field. Is it true? As our Matthew Marksey recently wrote, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense reportedly avoids the middle of the field due to Mike Tomlin's fear of turnovers. Today, we're examining if that's true. Do more turnovers happen in the middle of the field than outside the numbers? First, here are over-the-middle attempts and interception rates. For the sake of this argument, I sorted lowest numbers as best, to clearly see if limiting attempts correlated to less interceptions. Right away, we see that Pittsburgh fared as one of the best teams in 2024 under these parameters. They had the second least over-the-middle attempts in the league, 44, and were one of 5 teams with no over-the-middle interceptions. The others were Chicago, Buffalo, Indianapolis, and the Chargers. Los Angeles was the only team from this group with a higher number of attempts to accomplish this feat. The trend line, diagonal line, does validate that less over-the-middle attempts led to less interceptions overall, but there are plenty of outliers as well. For example, the only team with less over-the-middle attempts last year were the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They had just 35 over-the-middle attempts, but landed slightly below the mean with a 2.9 INT rate, 18th. 11 teams land on the top right, with low over-the-middle attempts and interception rates: Steelers, 10-7, Bears, 5-12, Bills, 13-4, Colts, 8-9, Packers, 11-6, Ravens, 12-5, Jaguars, 4-13, Vikings, 14-3, Titans, 3-14, Rams, 10-7, Cardinals, 8-9. Listing their season records in parenthesis reveals mixed results, with 6 playoff teams and 5 that failed to earn that pleasure. If you are going to limit your over-the-middle attempts, you better take care of the ball. Looking at the bottom right illustrates this point, with 4 of the 5 teams failing to make the playoffs: Cincinnati, Carolina, Atlanta, New England, and Denver, first-round exit. Interestingly, there were a few teams on the top left with a high number of over-the-middle attempts that were still able to take care of the football: the Chargers, Giants, Cowboys, second most attempts, and Saints. Of those 4 teams, just one made the postseason. Depot After Dark, Smith speaking at Alabama, Steelers sympathy for Lang, former Steelers RB passes away. Arthur Smith had a solid first season with the Steelers. While he certainly had issues, he was an upgrade over the Steelers' past few offensive coordinators. After failing as a head coach, Smith was looking to rebuild his value in the NFL. In 2025, he'll have a chance to build on his nice start in Pittsburgh. It looks like he'll be sharing his wealth of knowledge soon. According to Alabama Football on Twitter, Smith will make an appearance at the Alabama Coaching Clinic this year. The event will be held on March 21st and 22nd. Smith will be joined by current Alabama football head coach Kalen DeBoer and Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles. Attendees should learn a lot from that group. The Steelers aren't Pittsburgh's only sports team. The Pittsburgh Penguins have been just as successful, being one of the best teams in the National Hockey League for years. During most of their best years, Mike Lang was their announcer. To many, Lang was just as important to the team as players like Sidney Crosby. He retired in 2021, and unfortunately, he passed away recently. On their Twitter, the Steelers posted a message sending their condolences to Lang's friends and family. Lang was the voice of the Penguins for years, and the world will miss his presence. Hopefully his friends and family appreciate seeing all the love sent their way. The 1970s Steelers are one of the greatest dynasties in NFL history. They won 4 Super Bowls, dominating the league. Unfortunately, those days are long gone, and many of those players have passed away. It's sad to say, but former Steelers running back Mike Collier has joined that group. Collier was only with the Steelers in 1975 and 1976, spending that second season on injured reserve. However, he did help the Steelers win a Super Bowl. According to Herald Mail Sports, he passed away a few days ago. It's sad to see so many members of those legendary teams no longer being with us. Here sending well wishes to his loved ones. Ryan Clark strongly reacts to Ben Roethlisberger's Steelers criticism. He's wrong. Former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger again expressed his concern about the future of the Steelers way in his latest Football and Podcast episode. But his former teammate and ESPN's Ryan Clark took issue with one major aspect of Roethlisberger's point. Big Ben suggested that the Steelers need to evolve to continue attracting high-end free agents to help win another NFL championship. Clark responded to the ex-quarterback by essentially arguing that's never been part of Pittsburgh's culture. All respect to Ben Roethlisberger, great teammate, Hall of Fame, first ballot guy to me, Clark said on ESPN's NFL Live, via Steelers Depot's Ross McCorkle. But he's wrong because when you look at free agent signings in Pittsburgh, you think of names like James Farrior, Jeff Hardings, Kevin Green, who's a Hall of Famer, and me. Ain't no way I should be one of the biggest free agent signings in a team's entire history, but I am because the free agency was not where the Steelers built their team. They built their team through the draft. Of the 22 starters for the Steelers in their last Super Bowl victory during February 2009, only 4 of them played games with another NFL organization before coming to Pittsburgh. Honestly, Roethlisberger's criticism was not very clear. He took issue with the team's recent free agency approach and yet also seemed to suggest the Steelers' way could be dying because there's not a lot of leaders left who the team drafted. A team has to know when they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers that they're going to be hurting. Same way when I knew I was playing Baltimore that I was going to be hurting. We need to play Baltimore every week, that needs to be our mentality as the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're gonna go just absolutely pound these people into the ground in a clean way. And you know what, we're gonna be hurting, but you're gonna be hurting worse. And I don't know how that keeps on, said Roethlisberger. I don't know if that's been lost from players now, 'cause there's so few guys left. Cam, TJ, even Minka, he's been there for a while, and he's a leader, but he didn't get drafted here. He got brought here. Later, Roethlisberger added, you have to evolve. You can't assume everybody wants to play for the Steelers. People used to want to play for Pittsburgh for a Super Bowl chance yearly. Ryan Clark targeted the last part of Roethlisberger's criticism, clearly stating that the quarterback was wrong. There may have been a handful of instances where free agents wanted to play for the Steelers. Clark named a few. Himself and James Farrior were notable free additions for the 2008 championship. Farrior also started for the 2005 Super Bowl team. But it's not as if the Steelers have signed high-profile players in NFL free agency and aren't anymore. Free agency has never been a major part of Pittsburgh's roster-building plan. There's a lot of irony to the free agency comments from Roethlisberger and Clark. And you fan? What do you think of Ryan Clark's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.